welcome everybody. We are being streamed as well, so we're going to make sure we speak into the microphone so that the people online can hear us. I think we have a handful of folks online already. So welcome. This is the workshop. What are we called? Sustaining a statewide movement. So one thing before we get started, there was a little untruth in advertising. There's not going to be any role playing. So if you came for the role playing, we feel badly about that. But we thought we would open it up for discussion rather than go into the role playing mode. And deference to our friends online, we didn't want to, let them have an experience that they couldn't participate in. So welcome everybody. My name is Jeff Cole. I'm network lead for Beyond School Bells, and I'm joined by my colleague Connie Duncan, who's the Director of Development for Nebraska Children and Families Foundation. That is the mothership that houses Beyond School Bells, as well as a lot of other programs that support youth development across the state. So really thrilled to have Connie here lending her expertise around development and engaging private sector partners into our work on after school and summer learning. So thank you all for coming. We're going to kind of briefly go through, what some of the opportunities of the moment are in terms of after school and summer programs, kind of going over why they're important and what they, really provide for the youth across the state, and then summarizing where we're at in this unique moment. And then, the main focus will be reinforcing kind of the growing momentum around after school and summer learning programs. So, for us, it's really straightforward. We're so blessed in Nebraska to have a high quality network of after school and summer learning programs. As you heard earlier today, 20 years on, we've been at it for a while in Nebraska. I think have had a succession of really good leaders that have helped develop a program that is not only high quality, but has been sustainable. Most people, when they start an after-school program in Nebraska using the 21st century funding, they don't turn their back on it. So they continue to sustain the programming even when those initial grants go away. So you start off with the 21st century program at 100% funding. In year 4, it's a step down, was it Joel, 80%, and then maybe 50%, and then you're expected to meet the same numbers after that with a reduced 50% amount of funding that you started off with originally. So it is contingent on you being successful at leveraging in some other dollars. And so I think we're very fortunate in Nebraska to have a very high quality system that's kind of provided the bedrock for the work that we do across the state. We got a little jet fuel thrown on that fire with COVID, and when the COVID debacle hit and we were all kind of stymied, I think people understood that learning is one of those things that can take place in a variety of settings. We all experienced it, whether we wanted to or not, during the pandemic, but I think it did open people's eyes to the importance of learning outside of the school day, and certainly the federal government recognized that when they authorized these ESSER emergency funds to support recovery activities related to after school and summer in Nebraska. So Beyond School Bells, the network that we work for, partnered with the Nebraska Department of Education to leverage $11 million worth of ESSER funds to both existing programs and then to support new programs, what we call incubator sites. So we're partnering with the department to help facilitate this $11 million, this map, and we have some information at our desk out in the hall, kind of going over where some of these new sites are and how they've been developing over the last couple of years. We're going into the last year of funding for the ESSER sites. It's divided into an after-school block and a summer block. So the current after-school piece is the last year for 23-24, and then summer 24 will be the end of ESSER. So we're really starting to think about, well, what comes after that? So that's really what our conversation will talk about today. This next slide just kind of talks about how we're supporting some of the sites. Beyond School Bells has 3 staff members that are focused on supporting communities. Katie Christensen is one of those. She's back in the back. Alana Pearson's another. So yeah, we've got some representatives in here. Stephanie, I'm looking for her now, but I'd have to have good eyes to find her. She's at another conference in South Carolina, I think, today, so I'm not going to see her. But we've got a great team providing support to communities who are just getting started on these after-school and summer programs, and are excited about continuing that work. And we think that the work will continue because it's so important to children and families across the state. But it's not just, as you guys know, it's not just rolling the ball in the gym and calling it good. We really believe there are some components of quality programs that we've been able to identify in Nebraska over the last 20 years that kind of form the bedrock for the kind of programming that we really want to do and we see as important in Nebraska communities. And one of the fundamental building blocks of that is strong school community partnerships. So when we talk about the after-school programs that we support, we say they're school-based but community-powered after-school and summer learning programs. So the school-based piece is pretty hard to overestimate. It's an important piece of any after-school program is solid buy-in from the district, and we're going to be talking about that in some detail as we move on. But then we also know that partnerships really matter. As I mentioned before, with the 21st Century Grant programs, as they move into maturity and the funding goes down to a 50% level, you have to have people stepping up to providing that additional support. So community partners, school district partners, other public agencies, being able to step up and provide support is so important to continuing to develop high quality after school and summer programs. So this is a slide that NDE is prepared to identify who some of those partners are on a statewide basis, but we know on an individual basis there's a ton of partners that communities, community members know those folks in their community that are the ones you can call on to really help you develop a program and to be the person in the 11th hour you can call on when times are tough, and they'll step up and provide support for you. So it's that combination. I was talking to some folks earlier today, and they were with the Nebraska Arts Council, and saying that there is funding available to support artists to come in and have residencies and after-school programs. And there's just a lot of resources available. So I'm so glad we had 29 of those partners arrayed as part of our walk and talk tables today, and really hope that people were able to connect with some of them during the morning sessions. Lastly, I just wanted to point out that we are also partnering with the Department of Education to help facilitate Nebraska's ELO Innovation Network. So this is a separately funded initiative that uses lottery funds that we leverage with private sector partner funds to help grow the pool of resources that are available to support after-school and summer learning programs. So in many ways, the work that we're doing in ESSER is kind of an extension of that work we've been doing in the Nebraska ELO Innovation Network. Many of our partners that we work with, we are able to cultivate through what we call Center of Excellence grants. So we'll work with a group like the Explore It Center in Aurora and get them to develop materials that high school kids are using to facilitate STEM clubs in rural Nebraska communities that allow them to become kind of the expert in that part of the state for that particular audience. And then the resources that they make are freely available for other partners across the state to use. So we're really excited about that resource that's available for folks to utilize. And all of these are strategies that we see as really important part of developing sustainable after-school programs that are high quality, cost efficient, and most importantly, locally sustainable. It's one thing when we have a great opportunity like we've currently had with ESSER, when the federal government really cares a lot, is investing a lot in the development of our young people. But there's no bureaucrat in Washington that's going to care more about the kids in your community than the leaders in your community. So ultimately, these programs need to be reflective of the values and the resources that are available in Nebraska communities. And we're very bullish on Nebraska. We think there are resources available in every Nebraska community that are resources that can be tapped into for after-school and summer learning programs. So that's really what we want to talk about, how we right-size programs in communities across the state, that they reflect the ability of local communities to sustain and to develop in perpetuity. We don't want great after-school programs that are great for a year and gone. I think it's incumbent on us as kind of the adults in the room to figure out strategies that can keep the learning opportunities going for the young people that we know face some challenges. And as we talked about in the morning session, childhood should be a time in your lives where you have great experiences and playful experiences that expand your sense of who you are and what you want to become. And after school is a place that can do that. We can expose people to lots of different opportunities, and opportunities can be another way for us to think about partnerships. So what we really want to focus on in the balance of the presentation are some strategies to engage partners that we feel like exist in every Nebraska community. We'll take some breaks for questions, but that was kind of a long introduction into what we're going to be focusing on. Connie didn't bring her role-playing supply kit, so we don't have mustaches and hats to put on to play roles, but we think that we'll have some material that'll be useful for you. But mainly we wanted to make sure we freed up enough time to have some conversation with you at the end. So I'll turn it over to Connie to lead through the rest of it. We'll kind of go back and forth.
Hello, my turn. Okay, here we go. All right, so sometimes I have about 5 hats. So right now I'm going to put on my retired school board hat. So I was board president and on the LPS Board of Education for 8 years. And so this is the part I really want to dive into a little bit. All of you have local school boards, right? And the districts and the school boards need to play a very large role with after-school programs. They kind of lucked out when they elected me because my platform was early childhood and after-school programs. So I was already their champion. You have to have a champion on the school board. It's beneficial to have a lot of partners on the school board. I always say count your votes. So there's 7 school board members normally. If you want a board member to carry something for you, meaning get funding for you, you need to start counting your votes. You need to have 3 school board members, 4 school board members that say, I love what you're doing after school. I'm going to say something at our next meeting. I love it as well. Remember, just count your votes. Get 4 school board members that'll help. And they do it because, it provides opportunities for the community, strengthens the community for the families, but also they know where the money is. So general funds are usually the biggest thing that school board members do. That's what they vote on. And if you have 4 school board members that put after school as your priority, they're asked that question. They're asked, Mrs. Duncan, this year, what would be your priority for the 2023 school year? And I would say after school programs. And it go right forward. Just think if you had 4 school board members that said that. So also it's very beneficial for us as well as school board members to know that one of you in this room would be sitting with the administration at the school that you are the lead agency at, because you're doing all the goal setting on all the planning for the whole school, and you know the kids. So if you learn anything from that slide, count your votes. All right, sustainability. It is you, Jeff. It is you.
So yeah, we again, just to kind of reiterate where we were at the beginning, when you're thinking about sustaining your program, you need to know what it is you're sustaining. Is the program where it's currently at the program that you want to sustain? So should you scale it up? There's a great quote, I think it was by Eisenhower, a way to solve a small problem is to make it bigger. So you get more eyes on it, more people care about it. So, you can solve your after-school problem by making it part of the school development plan. Then it gets a lot of people's attention. Or, if it's a problem that's beyond your bandwidth to handle with all the bells and whistles that you're currently operating, is there a way to break it down into bite-sized pieces? And we'll be talking about what some of those bite sizes might look like. So that, it's something that your community can manage. So, what is it that you want to sustain, and then start developing the strategies around that? thankfully, there are a lot of federal dollars floating around that can be used to support after school and summer. So we listed some of the federal funding sources. There's a lot of material online. I'll share the websites with you on, the available federal funds you can use to support after school. I think there's, 130 some odd sources of federal funding that have the kind of enrichment and experiences that we love to see in after school programs that are eligible for support through existing federal funding streams. Always competitive grants. Nebraska Children and Families Foundation, where Connie helps lead all of our developmental efforts, is currently hoping to hear back on a $50 million federal grant on full-service community schools, where we'd be kind of leading a statewide effort to grow full-service community schools, and we're super optimistic about that. Yeah, we feel like it's our time. So hopefully we're going to be leading an effort that helps, again, kind of make after school a solvable problem by making part of a bigger problem, the full-service model that includes early childhood, parent engagement, workforce development, all kind of using that idea as school as the center of community, which we all know is true. So there's a lot of things kind of floating around. This administration has thrown some additional dollars to full service as a reflection of the priorities of the current administration. That's why we feel pretty optimistic. There's been more investments put into that pot that we hope to be able to tap into. And then community collaborations. Many communities in Nebraska have strong community collaborations that are pulling partners together to think about the best interests of children and families in their community. Nebraska Children's involved in that. It's called Bring Up Nebraska. So if you've got a Bring Up Nebraska Community Coalition chapter in your community, it's an opportunity to meet with others who care about kids and can think strategically about allocating community assets for that purpose of your after-school and summer program. So, there's it can be really complex. I mean, I won't lie to you about that. It's hard navigating some of these federal funding streams sometimes. But a lot of the district folks have people who know how to access and utilize federal funds, and the federal funds are there for this. So we feel like Nebraska deserves its fair share. And so definitely as part of a long-term sustainability plan, there's no reason you shouldn't look at federal sources. But what we want to emphasize is that's not the only place you should look at. So there's a couple of resources here that we can go to. And I think I loaded the slide on the, I forgot what the platform's, Synergy or something? Sketch, something like that. There's an online platform that y'all have access to via your registration. So these materials are there, and the links are live in that PowerPoint. But there are some basics that you need to do in order to be able not only to access these federal sources, but really more importantly, making your case to your community. So that's what we're going to spend, I think, the majority of the rest of the time focused on. So back to Connie.
All right, well, let's get into it. How are you going to do it? How are you going to raise the money? This is where I like all of the communities to start. It gets everything in one place. You've thought through it, and you have everything ready for a grant. So I'm a type A. It's just who I am. I always have my ducks in a row, and I had my ducks in a row 2 weeks ago. So that's just the way I work. So what I call this is the case statement brochure. It is just a brochure you're going to make up. You can use Canva. You can use whatever you want. Maybe you have someone in your school district that does marketing. They can do it. But you've got to appeal to all of these senses, right? Everyone learns differently. So you need to have data in your community, about your community, in this brochure, correct? Because you've got to show that this is the need. This is kind of what's going on. Look at this. 500 kids have nowhere to go after school. What are they going to do? Then you need to include some quotes and some pictures and some stories to tug at those little heartstrings. I'm a big one for tugging at the heartstrings, and I love telling the stories. So make sure you have a lot of that in there. Also, if you already have a partner that's a business, have them put a quote in there, because another business is going to see that and they're going to say, ooh, they're doing it. Maybe I should do it. Let's face it, they're all competitive. It just happens. So after you have those two pieces, then you have to say, okay, here's how I am going to solve the need. I'm going to put an after-school program in my school, and this is what it's going to look like. You also have to have the cost of the project and some naming rights. Again, people like to see their names up there. All right. I was kind of talking to you a little bit about why it's so important to tell your story. And the reason is you're the only ones that can tell the story. You tell the story best. So to tell the story, again, you've got to use your data, you've got to use your quotes, and you've got to use your pictures. We put this in here twice because it's really important. So that's very important. Do not forget it. Let's talk about the businesses. I've been known to go to small towns and drive around and just write businesses down. I'll let you guys do that. I've seen a lot of Nebraska, but I don't need to do everyone's businesses. But you need to find out who are your businesses in town. Is there some way to get them involved? An engineering club, a robotics, something that volunteers from a place of business can do. Jeff gave me a great example called Working Wednesdays. Every Wednesday, they bring a different business in. They tell what their business does. Maybe they're truck drivers. They bring a truck out to the parking lot. Kids see this. Then they tell them, this was my career path. Also, it's really important to bring people in that look like your students. We have a man at our company, Leon Holloway, that runs our HR department. One of the tallest African-American men I've ever seen. I think he is 7 feet tall. He comes in and he talks to the kids at Malone Center, and they're just in awe with him. They're like, you did what? How did you get there? I'm gonna be you when I grow up. It's important. Let's move on to the next one. So what is the benefit of doing that? The benefit is that they need to fall in love with you. I always say that getting businesses to like you is kind of like dating and marriage, okay? They're kind of dating you. It's a relationship builder. They need to know you, your programs, and what your kids look like. And then they need to know all about you, how much money you have, how much money you need, because really it's going to be much easier for you when you make a financial ask, right? So it's a good story to tell when you have a business come volunteer. All right, let's talk about homework. I told you I'm a type A. By the way, I was also a teacher for 17 years, so I've got that in there too. So please do your homework before you visit a business. Nothing's more embarrassing than to go into a business and you didn't research them, and they look at you and they say, we only give money to dogs and kitties. And you go, oh, sorry, I thought you gave to children. Do your homework. Do some time researching your funder, your business. You can look at their 990 online, a Google search. A Google search of someone just tells you everything, right? You can also find out how much they give away. Nothing is also more embarrassing to ask for $100,000 when they were thinking more like $1,000. Find out how much money they give away. You also could find out what their mission is. Will it align with your mission? I see that your mission is this. Isn't that funny? That's kind of our mission as well. Do they align? How do they align? Again, we're at the counting your votes. So a lot of foundations and businesses as well have a board. Find out who their board members are and get to their board members and tell them your story. Invite them in for a tour. Let them see what you're doing. And then keep adding up more people. Bring in the next person and the next person. But the most important thing is to know everything you can before you email them and ask them for a coffee date. So how does it look when you have the meeting? And you're all going to have the meeting, and that's the thing that we like to role play. It is nerve-wracking. I still get nervous, and I've been doing this over 20 years, but I still get nervous. So you've already done all your homework. You're prepared. Gonna go on in there, shake their hands. You're gonna ask them something personal, or you're gonna have some connection like, hey, my girlfriend said that, she saw you at Kohl's the other day. She said it was great seeing you, da-da-da-da-da. Or my husband was playing golf the other day, and I understand you're on a golf league as well. Something to make a personal connection. You can see the level just go down. It's so easy. You're gonna share a little bit about yourself, why the after-school program is so important to you. You're gonna share a little bit about the after-school program and maybe slide your case statement brochure across the table. You don't need to open it. You don't need to read it with them. You're just handing it over to them. You can have a formal letter ready with an ask if you feel really confident, or just have something in the back of your mind that you're sure this, if they ask me, I'm ready. This is what I'm going to ask. And then finally, you're going to thank them for the meeting and you hope they will consider making an investment in your after-school program. You're going to ask them if they have any questions. Done. Are you all stressed? You're all staring at me like you're stressed to death. Trust me, after you get the first one done, it's so easy. It really is. All right, Jeff, it's all you.
Yeah, so we, as I said, wanted to kind of leave some time for conversation, but one of the things I really wanted to emphasize is the need to really get a good sense of what your own contributions are. And again, a lot of times I think, make the mistake of not valuing what we bring to the table already. So if you're partnering with your district and your district's providing, obviously the space, if it's a school-based program, it's really good to be able to quantify your existing investments from your local sources before you reach out to a partner to make an outside investment. Partners, believe in this work across the state. I really feel like there's a lot of momentum behind the work that we're doing, but you can't expect other people to invest in the kids in your community if you're not showing you're investing in the kids in your community. So being able to, make that case about what your local investment is so important before you, reach out to an outside partner, a foundation, a business, whomever that may be. Having those kind of local contributions and quantifiable contributions. And sometimes that's hard. It may not be in dollars and cents that you're getting some of the contributions that you have. I mean, one of the things that is a hallmark of the after-school programs in Nebraska is being able to access some of the school lunch programs and school snacks programs, free food for kids and after-school programs. That's not free. Someone is paying for that. So being able to identify, there's a whatever X $50,000 worth of free food coming into our program every year shows that you've done your homework, you have other partners around the table, and that you're not asking for the business to be the sole investor, but the icing on an already well-established cake. So that's really important. I think, as Connie was saying, doing your homework is important in terms of building that foundation for the support that you already have. As I said at the beginning, kind of right-sizing that program for what your local capacities are, and then being able to ask for the additional funding from a variety of sources to help make the vision that you have for your program realizable. So wanted to give you some wrap-up comments in terms of how to continue the conversation. Katie and Alana are going to be supporting some regional meetings, so we had some information out at our desk about what we're calling regional connections that we're going to be doing in 4 quadrants. I see Joel in the back from Crete. That's going to be one of the sites that we work in. We're also going to be out in Lexington, Alliance, and Norfolk, if I'm not mistaken. Those are our 4 areas. So trying to get closer to folks so we can develop some regional learning communities where we can talk about these things. The deeper connects are going to be opportunities to have more intentional one-day kind of deep dives on topics. We're going to draft Connie in to maybe actually do the role playing so that we'll have some more time to kind of think through what it looks like to develop your own sustainability plan and to have some confidence going into your elevator speech and then your 30-minute meeting that she was referring to. One thing that I think we had some information about on our desk is we're going to be doing another Innovation Invitational. So this will be another workshop that we do in Lincoln March 5th and 6th. And it's really going to be focusing on innovation for sustainability. So we're really going to be honing down on this question then of how we continue to build on the great momentum that we have in Nebraska right now to make it something that's a statewide movement, and eventually, our vision is that after school and summer program is just commonsensical in every Nebraska community. Yeah, we've got great K-12 public schools, we've got growing great early childhood education networks across the state, and you know what? We've got the best after school and summer learning network in the country, and that, we can pretty much bet that if there's a kid in Nebraska who wants to take advantage of a great summer learning experience that will be transformative, they'll have that opportunity to do so. So that's our vision. We're going to be working aggressively to make our case to different partners But it's really dependent on all of you, of having programs that are right-sized for your community, that are locally sustainable, and we can then come in and provide support to do some of the extras that really make the programs pop and will make kids want to register in great numbers and come every day. If they're coming to their after-school program, they're coming to their school day program, and they're getting great educations, and they're prepared to contribute to Nebraska's future. So that will take any questions that people have, and we can get into nitty-gritty as well as general. So any topics that come to mind that you want to discuss, we are open to do it. And I guess, what do we have? About 20 minutes or something like that? Yeah, so that's right where we wanted to be. So with that, we'll open it up for questions. Yeah, there, what's the platform called again? SCED, yeah. So it's as part of your registration, you should have access to that. Yep. I loaded it up yesterday, so it should be on there. Yes. Yep. Yeah, we're big believers in blended funding. So, there should be no one source that you're wholly dependent upon. So combining, like the 21st Century Grant Program, I know a lot of districts are able to combine that with licensed child care centers and use a fee-based model with a sliding scale fee so that you're also able to take advantage of child care subsidy dollars from the Department of Health and Human Services. So that's, again, another federal funding source, but it's actually a formula allocation that is available across the state of Nebraska, regardless of where you live. If you're in a licensed program or subsidy eligible, you should be able to take advantage of that subsidy payment. So that would be, one small piece of a funding formula. So you have that. Then, going back to your district and saying, hey, the kind of activities that we provide are really helping us meet our literacy goals for third graders. So is there an opportunity to use some Title I dollars to help supplement the costs of providing that service in our, elementary school program? And if you're, running a program dealing with older youth, is there an opportunity to engage some of our students that are in our career technical student organizations? So we love to see Educator Rising students getting involved. So getting some Ed Rising high school seniors to run a club serving middle school students is a great way to leverage, again, another source of federal funding. But then as Connie mentioned, there's also school board money and being able to go after general fund expenditures that are being used for the projects of different school board members. So I'll let her chime in. Yeah.
Yes. I have some other good ones, and some of you will laugh. How many of you are from rural Nebraska? Okay. So there's a lot of land out there, and usually there's a runway somewhere where some of your ranchers and your hunters, shall we say, land, right? This happened with a C4K community of ours, an early childhood community. I could hear that I was talking to someone that was raising money, and I could hear airplanes in the background. I can kind of pick those up very quickly. And I said, where are you? And she goes, oh, I'm sitting here with my dad. He watches all the airplanes land, and he looks up tail numbers all the time. I said, oh, how big of planes you get out there? Oh, we've got this big one. It's like a falcon. I'm like, that's really big. Yep. You write that number down right now and call me back with that number. She calls me back, and we found out it was one of the largest donors that she could have had, the second largest landowner in Nebraska. And he has a ranch out there, and he goes out there, and he lands his very large airplane, and his pilots bring out, and he and his buddies get out and they go hunting. We were able to contact him and talk to him about this area. He said, I had no idea. I didn't even know really that there was a town around here. I didn't know. And he is a really good donor, obviously. So those are funny little things, but also what we found out is who's graduated from the high school there and made it big. Who's moved away? I had another community that I did a lot of help with, and they found a gal that had a few banks, and she moved away to California. She has banks all over now. They called her up and said, hey, you graduated from high school here, and would you like to, have this named, this building named after you? She was like, of course. And she got a good donation. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen all the time, but there is a lot going on in the small towns that you can see. And people want to give back to their roots. Their roots mean a lot to them. So think about that. If you're Lincoln and Omaha, you might be okay. Any other questions? Oh, Pat.
I think this morning they were talking about how, the 21st century family inflation and everything else. Do they ever reevaluate that formula to take that into consideration?
Yeah, no, they really haven't. It's kind of bizarre. They've occasionally added to it. So the overall pool federally has grown over time. It was a pilot project, I think it was funded initially at 10 million. Now it's, 1 point something billion. So it's a substantial growth over time. But that original student per student formula has actually never changed. So yeah, and I thought that was a great example actually that Dr. Johnson shared, that inflation on milk and on gas and all those other things have changed, but the expectation is that you're still able to provide that same per student rate. But yeah, it's one of those things that I think needs to obviously get looked at again and get adjusted. Nebraska, because of our population, we get the minimum amount available on a formula distribution basis. So we haven't really changed in terms of the amounts. It's just gradually grown. I think they mentioned there's 143 buildings that they're currently supporting. Again, kudos to the Nebraska Department of Education. So they've done a great job at starting new programs that have the capacity to be sustained. So it's a really nice, statewide network. That map I showed earlier on, is illustrative of the breadth. I think it's pretty geographically diverse across the state. Other thoughts, Connie, that you've had as we've been talking?
I always think of other places to raise money.
Yeah.
I can give a few others. That'll help. I'll give a few more.
Another one that we also look at are the banks. If you think of like Union Bank, UBT, they're all over the state and they like to invest. First National Bank of Omaha, they have lots of branches, and actually each bank gets a certain amount of money to give away every year, and sometimes some of the banks in smaller towns can't give all the money away. And I hear that from their person in Omaha, Whitney, always tells me, gosh, what can we do in Norfolk? Or what can we do here? So make sure you hit up the banks. Always hit up the banks. Oh, what other ones?
Yeah, I think one of the, can't remember, one of the bank robbers was like, well, why do you rather? That's where the money is. It's kind of where you go. So if you're looking for money, go to banks.
Yeah, go to banks.
Well, I just wanted to, I think, as you were talking about developing the case statement, a lot of these things go back to that. You really do have to have a compelling story to tell. So I thought your slides on, developing that case statement, making sure it's populated with some pictures of kids doing fun things. That we've done a couple of photo projects that we have on display, just having young people engaged in activities. One of the, like a lot of these, but one of the things that people say is after-school educators suffer from terminal modesty. No one knows the great work that they do every day, so that when budget cuts come around, it's an easy thing to cut because they don't know about it. We are dedicated this year to raise the veil that's been hiding after-school programs. So we're going to be pushing out lots of video, hopefully getting lots of editorials and news stories and social media, all those kinds of things, lifting the veil on the work that you're doing. So we're providing that initial barrage that should make your asks a little bit easier. Like, oh yeah, I think I saw something. I was over here and I saw that. So we'll be pushing lots of stories out there for you to bounce off of, but it's always, most impactful when it's someone in your community and you can back up, yeah, it's great that they're doing that in Lincoln, but we're doing this in Aurora. So we've got this story to tell, and these are the partnerships that we're involved with. So we're excited to be partnering with you. We want to partner with everyone to help grow the best after-school kind of system in Nebraska. So we'll be actively involved in this work this year, and really encourage you to reach out to us. We really encourage you to participate in the regional connects and all the opportunities that are going to be becoming available over the next year as the ESSER 3 process kind of cycles out. And we just think it's a very exciting time to be involved in this work in Nebraska, and feel like it's a product that should sell well in your communities. It's exciting for the kids. It could be exciting for the bankers and the airplane pilots that want to get involved with something that matters. I think we're all looking for things that matter these days, and it is very easy to say that after school matters, and the work that you're doing is super important. And don't let it suffer from terminal modesty, because you're not bragging about the good work you're doing. So, yeah.
We did it.
Awesome. Awesome. So yeah, any other questions? We're going to be here for a bit until they kick us out, because I think this room is being used for another workshop at 3. But yeah, if people want to have continuing conversations. Yeah, Alice.
Always wondered this, Connie, about what you say. So you always say you do research and look for organizations that are. So is there ever a time where you not that you genuinely think they should, or you genuinely like have a strategy publicly out there that they might think about this?
Right. So usually I do my homework with that, with asking other people, who knows who, and try to learn about them through, I guess, just through other friends. That's the only other way I can think of to do it. Otherwise, it's a cold call, and I've made a lot of cold calls in my life, and it's never easy, but I really sometimes don't know how else to do it. And I just call them up and just ask if we can meet. And I don't know anything. And the minute they say dogs and kitties, I cringe and go, oh, sorry. But, they're happy to hear about it. That's the thing, because it's happening in their community. So they need to hear about it. Now, I will say that I have changed a few people's minds that just gave to dogs and kitties, because I convinced them how it was going to help their community. Dogs and kitties, yes, make us feel great, but this is helping our community. And they ended up giving. So,
And after school, you can do a veterinarian's club.
yeah, there you go. Do something like that.
Take care of the dogs and kitties.
Yeah, something like that. I'm curious, does anyone have an interesting way they approached a funder, or a funder that was really interesting that you want to share with us? I always find in these that we learn so much from each other. That someone says, oh, I did this, and you're like, oh my gosh, I never thought of that. Anyone want to share? Don't be bashful. Trust me, I've done everything embarrassing you could ever think of. Anyone? Anyone made an ask in here yet? Okay, back there in the burgundy, how was the ask?
Foundation itself, gentleman who set up the foundation passed away. Building the school, but at the time it fell apart. It kind of fell apart. He wanted it to not on the spot. So we left saying, never approach me again for a dime for football. So he passed away, and 20 years later, his daughter was running. I just gently reminded her of the dream her dad had. And we work together. That could come to fruition. So that started it. We committed a certain amount, and COVID came, and she came to me and said, putting pencil to paper, and and I just saw on her face that they were going to withdraw, and she said, we can double it.
Oh, that's like music. I just got goosebumps. I mean, people like me get goosebumps over that. Double.
And now we're working on a pretty large one this week, so hopefully that do that. filled, and then when I showed them the sketch, the sketches of the stadium, it said, well, I know we're working on X million, but this is gonna cost more. And came up with.
Oh my gosh.
Because when they saw the sketches, they wanted that. They wanted that, and I said, well, we have some hard decisions to make. This amount. Do it and don't pay. So I call them up and say, we can't quite afford, oh, okay, do it.
You're pretty good. I got about 2 positions open on my staff. You're good, really good. Anyone else have a good story like that? Yes.
So when I started out in the elementary school, I was still really wanted to do girls on the run because it had actually be like historically it wasn't on the school year anymore. But girls on the run is a more expensive program because it's also up there. And I didn't have that extra money. My friend was able to pay for $150 per girl that wanted to do this. So I went to the Lincoln Marathon website and went through all of the sponsors who sponsor the marathon. Reached out to each one of those through private students and was able to get a couple $1,000 specifically for the girls to participate. And then I got shoes for some of those that needed it as well. And then partnered with the local Hy-Vee or Russell's Market that was right by and provides snacks.
That's a good one. See, I mean, we dig down in the barrel to try to, how can I make this work? That's perfect, great idea. Anyone else? See, we're gonna make it right till 2:50. I'm a good teacher. Anyone else have another one to share? Yes.
Just the biggest piece of advice would be putting yourself out there as much as you can. Like going to the businesses. One of my favorite projects I did, my kids loved it, my staff loved it. We just took stock, we walked downtown, and we went to the businesses, and we just writing like different like affirmations and like things about the businesses, like kind of signing our name around some of the businesses, like took pictures of it, like shared it on their Facebooks. We posted it and like other people just shared our posts as well. It was just a good way to get us out there a little bit, and then the businesses kind of just getting to see like, oh, that's pretty cool. Like they're getting our name out there, just kind of like working hand in hand. It makes it a lot more approachable. Whenever you do want to reach out to them, I've had some businesses that I like the people that work there and they've already paid. You probably come to us for funding.
So smart. That's a great idea. I didn't even think of that. And it's, oh, go ahead.
Starting here pretty soon, my biggest goal that I want to start doing is doing more baking. And so I think my project with the kids is to pick a business of the month or something, and we do baking projects and possibly like bring them goodies, and just like other things throughout the month of like, a business spotlight. And so we want to
Yeah, that was it. It's a great idea. And you know what? It's good for the businesses. So 46% of a business's customer, if they decide they want to go with a business, the customer wants to go with a business, they look to see what they do in the community. We found that at our own company. And so that's why we do so much in the community. So it's beneficial for the business as well. Look at that. We're out of here. It's over. Thanks.
They're out there ready. Right.
Is this your quarter or is this?
That was it. That was theirs, yeah. Do you guys know each other?
Yeah, yes. Yes, a couple times.
Yes, yes, you too, honey. How are you?
Oh my God, good. Oh, you guys are next.
We are next.
Yeah, I went and got one of these too because I read the thing.
Me
It was
too,
right there.
yeah.
Yeah, I actually still went to where.
Oh, God.
So,
So ridiculous. I wondered, I should have just said, yeah, they usually have it.
yeah.
I'm Erica Larson-Duffery from Nebraska.
Oh.
Thank you a couple times.
You both.
Yeah. That's a lie.
Yeah, nice to meet you. Yes. Getting some ideas.
Good.
Similar things.
Well, anything you need, let us know.
Well, yeah, so I usually end up doing
I've been back and forth to Omaha the last 2 days more than any person should ever